All right, good afternoon, everyone. This is Daniel from TradeCraft 360 and detailing an update on my Amazon trade. And just to quickly summarize, this call that you see here was purchased on November the 11th, and I'm actually down 10,560 on this trade. And I've done my best to generate as much call premium as possible to, again, reduce the initial capital outlay to zero. So turning that debit into a credit, so to speak. And in this case, as I detailed in my prior video, I was going to continue to sell the weeklies and then also consider setting up a vertical, which is what you see here. And I staggered the position. And if there's a rally on Amazon, maybe a bit of sector rotation, I'll take the opportunity to sell an additional 15 contracts and further reduce the outstanding call premium purchased. So just to reiterate, the purchase call was $7.60 per contract, and my current P&L is a negative 10,560 as previously stated, and I have sold $1.43 of call premium to date. That is not including the 15 contracts. I'm going to sell the other 15, and then I'll update that, and hopefully that will reduce things to maybe hopefully below $5, so somewhere between 4 and 5. And then I'll continue to sell additional call premium week in, week out. And then over the course of the next 8 weeks, get that down to zero. So is this trade a write-off? Perhaps. There is a lot of sector rotation going on. I have a number of trades going on. In fact, there's only a few losers. This is one of them. It actually is kind of interesting. So you do see the rotation from large cap tech into small cap, into kind of names that have performed poorly over the last 2 or 3 years. So in terms of some of the areas that are outperforming: software, small cap financials, small cap financials. I actually do have a trade on small cap financials that I should detail, that I've done a lot of trading on it, so it's a lot to, put in a video, in the sense of like I'd have to go all the way back, update all the trades I've made. But the ticker on that is DPST, so I own 20 contracts. I did that several weeks ago, and I'm up substantially on that. So it's not that I'm not participating. I certainly am. But, this trade I detailed from the very beginning, and so therefore I'm following through on it. And obviously not the greatest start, and I typically will see things through. So because I've swapped over to calls as opposed to buying the underlying and hedging it off with a put, turning it into a call effectively, the initial capital outlay is not as substantial, and obviously I'm paying for that. Implied in the call premium, the $7.60, is the prevailing interest rate. So it's not that I'm certainly getting a reward. I'm paying for the capital with the call, as opposed to just buying Amazon and purchasing the put. So reflective of that, the difference between the two is the interest rate. So it's not that there's any additional benefit. So the only reason I'm doing that is because I do have a plan for the excess cash, which I'll detail in a separate video over time. But putting that aside for a moment, I'm okay to continue to sell the weeklies. And just given the amount of call premium left outstanding, I will likely have to be a bit more aggressive. So that's what you see here on the analysis section. I sold the 197.5 call. So that was an at the money call on Friday. that I sold for 60 cents and I bought to cover for 15. And that was just trading, right? Nothing more. Looking at Amazon, not a trending day, not a ticker that has exhibited a lot of relative strength. There was certainly the risk that Amazon could have, increased above the 197.5, and then I get called away, and then I'd have to deal with that. But I felt that the risk reward was appropriate, and it was the right move on that particular day. So I am inclined to do those types of very short-term trades that generate additional call premium, again, to reduce the initial capital outlay to zero. And that's how I like to handle my losing trades. I like to give myself enough time for Amazon to recover. It's still not a complete write-off. Amazon could recover quite quickly. We don't know. There could be a rotation back into big tech. That said, I have to be very mindful and aware of that this trade will go to zero, that this trade will expire worthless. So therefore, I have to ensure that I cover the initial capital outlay, turn that initial debit into at least zero or a net credit. And knowing where you are on the trade, knowing that I'm down, 10,560, gives you a good idea of that this is an underperformer, that the momentum is not on Amazon's side, that I can be probably a little bit more aggressive with the call selling. And that could change. It does require a day by day reassessment, but it just gives you a good idea that, selling the vertical seems to be the appropriate thing to do. I don't like to hope in the market. I don't want to say, I hope that Amazon in the next 8 weeks recovers. That'd be great. Well, yeah, it would be, but is it likely, right? I'd argue probably not. I think that losers tend to lose and winners tend to win, and that's just the way it is. And so, you do your best in the market. You have your reasoning at the beginning for a trade, and then other traders will like to exit early, redeploy elsewhere. Because I'm very process oriented as a trader, and my process is to cover the initial capital outlay via a series of covered calls, verticals, etc. I like to stick to that, and it also allows me to check in, right? So I know what financials are doing because I have a trade there. I know what big tech is doing. I have a trade there. I can rotate in my brain very easily to see what's working, what's not, so that when I put on new trades, I tend to go where the momentum is going, right? I am not much of a risk reversal type of trader. Like for instance, like a particular security will go down 10, 20, or 30%, or a particular sector will go down 10, 20, or 30%. And then, in preparation for a recovery in that sector, some traders will try to get ahead of that. I sometimes will do that, and I really like to have a time frame that allows for that possibility. Certainly Bitcoin falls into that category. I've owned that for the better part of a year, and since purchasing it close to, I think it was like February of this year, so less than a year obviously, but certainly a long time, did absolutely nothing. But I was comfortable with that, knowing that there was likely to be a breakout, to which I'm being rewarded substantially at this point in time. So there are certain asset classes, certain things that I would be interested in taking a much more longer term viewpoint on. And the interesting thing about Bitcoin is that it, 1 second it's doing nothing, and then all of a sudden it's up 30, 40, 50%. That's just the way it works. So am I a big believer in Amazon? No, not really. This was just a short-term trade that isn't working out in my favor. And I'm going to do what I do best, which is to short-term trade around the initial position, get that down to at least a zero or a net credit, ideally, and then just move on. All right, and then redeploy my capital somewhere else. So at the length of time that I have till January 17th, well, that's right around the corner, right? So it just means that time is ticking, and I have to be mindful of the premium that I need to generate from now until January 17th. And once that's over and done with, I'll reassess. Is Amazon where you would want to be? Maybe, maybe not. I think that I'm going to tend towards small caps over the next few months, and looking forward to putting on a few new trades there. I actually do have a few small cap names that I'm working on. Who knows? Lemonade, right? Get on it. So we'll see how that goes. I might put that trade on next week. There's a few things on my short list. So anyways, I did take the opportunity to lighten up on a number of positions on Friday. I did put on my NDX short. I think that is the right index to short. If nothing else, if there is a lot of sector rotation, then maybe the NDX does break down, and then small caps and maybe the S&P 500, maybe the S&P 500 a bit more neutral to higher, and then small caps are where things start to really shine. And so definitely you would want exposure to small caps. They've been trashed for a very long period of time. Maybe this is now their time to shine and make some money off of it. Anyways, I will let everyone go, and any comments are always appreciated. Have a great weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.